The rebrand, a natural process of progression and development for most businesses looking to make a mark on the world. Now, at the end of 2023, 18th of December to be exact, EA, a massive gaming company, released their new identity for Frostbite. Their game engine, which has supported the likes of their incredibly successful Battlefield series, Star Wars Battlefront, and Battlefront 2, one of my favourite video game titles of all time. And also a fair few of the Need for Speed titles as well. I know that a lot of my friends will remember Need for Speed 2 Underground as well. Phenomenal stuff. This is my new series for 2024, Rebrand Review. Let's fire in. For the last 10 years, we have been honoured to be in the presence of this incredible logo designed by EA. The fractured glass-like hand of the identity is a direct reference to the destructible environments of Battlefield, which was very much coming into its own at the time, and which had also been quite rarely seen in the gaming industry, especially in the first-person shooter space, which made it a very direct competitor to the also incredibly successful Call of Duty, and that gave Battlefield a little bit of edge against its competitor due to the fact that it had destructible environments and Call of Duty hadn't quite caught up to that just yet. Now, it may also reference the many teams and developers and creators that are involved in the process of creating, AAA and award-winning games, but on the 18th of December, I was definitely surprised to see EA's announcement having a rebrand for Frostbite, as I'm sure many other people were, because there's a part of me that felt that it was very late in the year to, do a rebrand. But I also believe that if you are going to do a rebrand and you're wishing to refresh for the new year, then it's always good to get it in before the new year actually rolls around, so that then you have a little bit of runway, a little bit of time to relax, go on holiday as well, sit on a beach with a cocktail that's sitting inside a coconut with one of the tiny little umbrellas. But I think I had similar feelings for this rebrand as I did for the Street Fighter one. Now, it isn't a full separation for the logo design in terms of, the direction that they're taking, but Frostbite's version does keep consistency in the design of the logo, and it looks to be a modernization and an evolution of the visual identity. It's a look that goes from the kind of glass-like, broken apart structure of the hand, which it has kept throughout all of the iterations that the Frostbite brand has had. And it now moves into a space where it's much more clinical, it's much more clean, there's smoother edges, everything's layered up as well, which, frankly, I think looks great. At the beginning, though, I was a little bit apprehensive, but I think that's due to the fact that we're not used to seeing a lot of change in, the brand space. Take Twitter, for example, but Twitter's a truly horrific, example of a rebrand. I wouldn't even call it a rebrand. It was just a complete deconstruction of one of the most famous logos and one of the most famous brands in human history. But that's for a different day. If you want to hear any of my rants in that video, I've got it somewhere. EA did state that the new brand identity is representative of how the engine has evolved as a platform for collaborative innovation, which, from the design, I do agree with. The handprint is one of the most recognizable visual indicators in design and in visual communication for collaboration, teamwork, and identity. Now, the design itself, EA were in talks about how to take this next step with the brand and with the visual identity, and they decided to keep the handprint. Now, consistency is a massive part of brands and branding in terms of your visual identity and the visual identity system that you create for it. And if you take too far a direction shift, you may confuse your audience. You may make too little change and then you're just making a very tiny shift. But make just the right amount and you're operating in a really interesting space where you're creating more of a timeless design, something that is going to be used and written about in articles. Take FedEx, for example. I don't think I've ever seen an interesting logo article or a hidden meaning logo article that has not had the FedEx logo in it. For a lot of businesses, a rebrand is usually representative of a big shift within the company, whether it be an attempt to attract a wider audience, expansion of the brand, or a philosophical and deeper decision to connect with their consumers, whether it be with a new product or service or a new piece of technology that has came out that the business has developed. The layered aspects of the logo design are representative of the many teams, technologies, and developers that have built this thing up from a foundation. And the smoother shapes that create the hand are highlighting EA's commitment to smoothing out the edges in the experience that they create, both for players and creators as well, which I think is a really nice touch as well, that they've put the amount of effort and investment in terms of monetary value into saying that we're committing to creating a truly great service, a truly great video game engine for yourselves. Now, overall, I think EA smashed this rebrand. This is taking a new direction the correct way. Now, going back to Street Fighter, I felt like the direction that they took was an interesting one. It is slowly growing on me as well. I do enjoy, the Street Fighter games. I remember playing Street Fighter 1 as well on the Sega Mega Drive, and I loved it. It was great. I really, really enjoyed it. But with the likes of Street Fighter 6, it's difficult to make such a massive shift when you've had one of the most historically incredible franchise logo designs, in terms of having everything absolutely consistent and then making such a huge shift that you're not only confusing people about the decisions that you're making, but you might actually lose a bit of trust in your consumers and your customers as well, and your audience as a whole, if you do take too big of a step without laying down the solid foundation as to why you're doing it. And I mean, I do understand, there is a modernization of a lot of technologies as well. And, the Street Fighter logo goes back, several decades to when it was first conceived, when it had that gradient going from the red to the yellow. And frankly, that's stuck. And I feel like they maybe could have taken a different direction. But with the game that came out with it as well, that was technically the visual identity system for the video game, it did kind of bring up the success of the rebrand quite a bit. You have all of the pieces together. Your identity has been in use for the last 10 years. And frankly, I think any business deserves some form of rebrand, no matter how big or small, after, about 10 years. And the question really is why? Why is that? Why would you make a change after 10 years if there's been, if you've had, such a success with your business? Because frankly, times change. Trends and social shifts, as well as your consumer and audience demographic, people are aging as well. People are aging. Their opinions are maybe being morphed and changing, and maybe they don't like certain things, and they're beginning to find themselves depending on who your audience is, and that's something to keep in mind when running a business. But for us designers who are fresh off the press in the world of design, I do have a couple things to say and to run by you. Number one, you can build a style and a business for yourself as a designer. It is absolutely possible to do. As much as we do have, things like Fiverr that do, massively saturate the market, and, like people and projects are, hugely undervalued as well. There is a way for you to do it. I do recommend, for example, the Futures YouTube channel. It helped me a lot when becoming a freelancer, and that ultimately landed me a job as a digital designer. And I think ultimately, in one weird way or another, has kind of landed me a place at one of the best design schools in the world. So big ups to the Future guys there. But number two, a brand identity for yourself is not as important as getting your work out there. Once you set a foundation for yourself and maybe start getting clients, then you can maybe think about creating an actual identity, maybe a little logo for yourself as well. Take, for example, Made by James, an incredible example of somebody that didn't have everything figured out in the beginning, of somebody that continued to work hard, and then very recently as well, within the first year or two, they have created this truly memorable brand and identity for themselves, and also a business as well. And they're making a decent amount of money. I'm assuming anyway. His designs are incredibly high quality, so if you do want to check something out, check out Made by James. Definitely do that. Number three, I think this is maybe more of a personal decision and personal opinion, but try not to put your name in designs or designer. I did it early on. See, when I'd left college, I was like, Craig Reed Designs, Craig Reed Designer. Yeah, this is great. But I realized that if I just put my own name, that's as much of an identity as, you know, the rest of the freelancers that are out there in the world, because your portfolio as well and your work will absolutely speak volumes for itself. And the thing is as well, when you set up, you know, things like your SEO as well, your keywords as well, when people are maybe searching for a designer, your name will pop up, people click on your profile as well, and then they'll be able to see your work and think, hey, yeah, I want to work with this person. Because making it clear what you do by sharing your work on, you know, socials, networking with other creatives, that's what's incredibly important. And I think that's one of the most important things when it comes to design. It's connecting with others and building relationships, whether it's with clients, whether it's with other designers as well. As you build out your network, you'll be able to reach more people, and you'll be able to also find opportunities, and opportunities will find you. Now, number 4. Now, there is nothing wrong with creating an identity for yourself. One of my best friends, my best designer friends, Robin, she's an incredibly talented freelancer, and she's branded herself Brands by Robin. And frankly, her entire brand, her identity system is phenomenal. But she has a really solid foundation for it. She's not just created something off a whim that she just likes. She's created something that's for her business, that she can use across her platforms, that she can use across her emails, her newsletters as well, her course as well that she's got out, her podcast. And frankly, she's up to charging about $5,000 per project. But lastly, have fun with it. Build your style your way, build an audience your way, and, you know, share your work and your process, whether that's through, like, the beautiful thing as well with social media, all of the aspect ratios for all the videos are all exactly the same. So if you're able to do that and then pull it into the likes of CapCut or, you know, Adobe Rush, whatever it is, whatever, you know, free app that, you know, you can video edit on, which, you know, I, you know, pay a monthly subscription to Adobe to use their professional editing software, but I also use CapCut as well, and I also use Adobe Rush, 2 free apps for editing videos, adding sound, adding images as well. And there's layering options on TikTok as well, which I didn't even know about, which is, you know, nuts. But this is, you know, the stage that we're at technologically, and it's really, really easy to create content and just even video a little bit of your process, and little by little you'll see how you improve. And I think that's one of the 2 biggest ego boosters for artists and designers. Number 1 being seeing yourself actually improve as you're consistently working on, frankly, improving. And number 2, getting a comment from another artist or another designer saying, hey, your work's great, keep it up. And honestly, with, you know, all of yourselves that have been, you know, watching these YouTube videos, enjoying, you know, the little Rebrand series that I'm doing, which is now, you know, an official series now, which I'll be putting into, you know, a little playlist that people can watch as and when. But it's great, it's amazing. We've reached like 180 something subscribers, which is, you know, nuts. I didn't expect that number to reach where it was. Like, you know, I think 3 weeks ago I was sitting at about 70, which, you know, is, you know, goes to show that I'm providing some value for some people on the internet, which is always a fun thing. But with that, guys, that'll be me for today. Frostbite, EA, you smashed it. You absolutely smashed your rebrand. I know that I'm, you know, a tiny creator on the internet telling you that, but good job. Well done. There we are. But feel free to leave a comment as well. What do you guys think about the Frostbite rebrand? Do you think they should have maybe kept the consistency with the kind of smashed glass logo design? Or do you quite like the kind of new, smoother direction that they're taking? Let me know anyway. Feel free, like and subscribe as well if you're enjoying this. Got plenty more coming for you. I'll see you later. For most businesses looking to make a mark on the world. Now, at the end of 2013, that's totally wrong. No. The rebrand. A national... No, not a national. I'll get there, Craig. First video of 2024. We will get there. A natural process and progression. Nope, it's of progression, Craig. I'm doing well.